In a nutshell, most of our major contenders, except for Landon Kimmel, who we will talk about momentarily.
Yeah, it's great to see some of these top athletes competing against each other earlier in the season, but here, of course, it's when it all matters as they're trying to get one of those spots at Nike Cross Nationals in early December. The top 5 across the line will get automatic invites, and we just mentioned a few of those names that we saw there on that race course, but how do you see this one setting up today?
Well, I think Kimmel has the highest ranking, but I would look at Henry Acorn. He won the Missouri Class 5 cross country championships. He was sixth in the Festival of Miles this summer. He's run 4:08 for the mile, and he has a 1:53 split, 800 meters split. So he's got a lot of leg speed. I'm very interested to see how he will perform. He hasn't raced against these other 5 runners, so we may be in for a bit of a surprise from him.
And you also call it a race, which of course is for the importance of the individuals trying to qualify, but it is also a competition, most notably in the team race. But, you know, in terms of just the success that all these guys have had, this graphic kind of reflects the fact that something's got to give with some of the best kids in the country all towing the line today.
Absolutely. And the only loss that Kimmel has is to a guy that isn't ranked, Alex Bruns, who lost twice to Kimmel in the regionals and state in Indiana. But TJ Hansen, he won 13 of 14 last year before this race, 11 of 12 this year, but they've all lost to either one another or to someone else. So I think this is going to be a highly interesting, intriguing, competitive race.
So 5 individuals get automatic qualifiers, but if one of those top 5 is connected to a team, they will go with their team. So some of those placings down below 5 may come into conversation. But as we talk about the team race, just 2 automatic qualifiers coming out of a very deep region.
Very deep region. And Downers Grove North, they returned 3 of their top 6 from last year's NXR. And by the way, those 3, Grant Schroeder and Philip Kupiel, they have kind of flipped this season, with Schroeder being performing better than Kupiel. And then Will Surratt is going to be very, very important. He's their number 3 guy. Plainfield North, they were second in 3A to Downers Grove. They have a couple of experienced runners in Quinn Davis and Thomas Serwiski. And then Rockhorst, that's the Rock Running Club. They're going to have a very low stick bite with Henry Acorn, but they also have a couple other guys that were 5th in state, Andrew Davis and Jack McGovern, who was 8th in state. And then Bloomington North, they were 1st in the Indiana State Championships, and they were led by Jacob Mitchell, and they're competing as Worth and Track Club, by the way. Jacob Mitchell, 5th at state, and Kalen D'Onofrio, 13th at state.
So again, top 2 teams will get the automatic bids, and then at the conclusion of the regionals, they'll make a decision by the committee to advance a few others in at-large selections. This region has had 9 at-large teams invited. The last one to do it was Downers Grove from 2022. Illinois with the perfect streak. 18 years they have sent a team to Portland since the inception of Nike Team Nationals, which became Nike Cross Nationals, of course, back in 2004. As we look across the line, the top teams in the region ready to go head-to-head in this championship season on a championship course at Laverne Gibson.
You mentioned Illinois' success in this, and I think because Downers Grove North and Plainfield North have so many experienced runners who have run at NXR before, I would be shocked if one of those 2 teams weren't one of the automatic qualifiers, to be sure.
Hunter Jones set the course record, 14:21.8. That was done a couple of years ago in 2022. Teams from Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, and Missouri all gathering here in Indiana for the final instructions before the start of our championship boys race at Nike Cross Regionals Midwest.
TJ Hansen is actually the 6th fastest runner ever on this course. Connor Burns, now at the University of Oregon, who set the high school 5,000-meter track record, is just the 2nd fastest runner on this course. Hunter Jones's mark, that's a tough one, Paul. That may stand for a few years, although we'll see what happens today. These are perfect conditions.
Final instructions here from the starter, and we'll get set to racing. Was a bright sky for part of the morning's races. Things have become a little bit more overcast here, but as Tom mentioned, great racing conditions here for the best racers in the region. Just moments away from the boys' championship start. Underway from Laverne Gibson in Indiana as the racers from 5 states around the region converge here to try to get themselves to Nike Cross Nationals in Portland, Oregon in early December. Here is the start of the boys' championship race in the Midwest.
Will be interesting to see how this race develops, Paul, because everybody in this field, other than Acorn, have run against each other, at least the main contenders. So you kind of wonder, how is this all going to play itself out? It'll be fascinating.
As they have this wide expanse of the opening stretch, they're actually running parallel and on the portion of the course that they will see again at the finish, as the finish line coming into view, at least the structure of it there in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. And then adjacent to that, on that left side, you see all of the participants here in descending order as we get a host of the best onto the course here. But it's been a day where we've seen thousands of runners from around the region. This has been a very highly anticipated and highly participated in event.
No kidding. That's Augustus Gaudio of MSDP in Illinois to the early lead, and one of his teammates up there as well. But one thing that you can tell, Paul, when it's a pack this big, nobody is really eager to take the pace out. Otherwise, you would see it string out a little bit. These guys are all pretty much together.
Yeah, nice looking shot from high up above as they begin to squeeze the width of this race course just ever so slightly before they get them on the course. And you can see the race within the race adjacent to those runners as they go down the downhill, the competitors onto the course and the spectators trying to find another spot to cheer them on.
And this is the steepest downhill of the course that they're going down right now. It does not get any more steep than this. And it is a way to kind of get your legs loosened up a bit, get that turnover going a little bit faster because you have the aid of the downhill portion.
See, bib 3589, that is Andrew Walton of Fairfield Union, the Ohio Division II champion the last 2 years, and was 8th in this race a year ago. But early pacing here, just trying to get everybody into a rhythm, as again they used kind of just the outer circumference of this course in the early going. Beautiful vistas here as they settle in for the first mile of this 5,000 meter distance.
And Merritt Bukovic at number 2612 hugging the inside there, also up there. Here is our elevation tracker, and now they start a rather gradual decline up the course. But I kind of, I love real racing, Paul, and so the fact that there isn't anybody that has broken away from this thing is kind of fun. It's anybody's race. It's clearly being run conservatively, which means we're going to have some fast finishers.
Bib 1600 in the blue checks singlet on the far right of your screen. That is Ben Crane, who we talked about in the early going, as he lines up as a senior. The Illinois 3A state champion, was 4th in that Nike XC Twilight here earlier this year and was 9th in this race a year ago. And, we saw that yesterday in Idaho at the Northwest region, kids who had come in just outside of those automatic invites a year ago, using that experience as motivation and getting themselves to Portland after the race yesterday.
Crane was really on the far outside of the course. I saw him give an elbow, and that kind of catapulted him to the front. He has very good leg speed, 8:57 3,200 meter runner. He's won 6 of 7 races. He was 4th at that Nike cross country town race, and he lost to Quagliaroli in that race, among others.
And Quagliaroli in picture, running on the outside, basically by himself on the far right side of your screen. But things beginning to at least spread out just ever so slightly as we look from high above, but still everyone in contact with each other, going all the way to the back of the course. We'll get our first split on the course here coming up shortly. You see the athletic course tracker carrying us through to the 1 mile mark. This is the northern end of Laverne Gibson as they'll get to the crest there and they begin to do the wide switchbacks as they'll head back towards where they started.
And I'm curious when we're going to see Landon Kimmel and when we're going to see TJ Hansen. They know this course very well, so they may be holding themselves back. But at some of these narrow parts of the course, if you have to do a lot of traffic work, That can take up some energy. And now they've got Kimmel actually in there in third. And
Grant Widmeyer is up there as well, bib 28.75, noting he is not listed on the results as of right now. That sometimes has a bearing of whether the chip has picked him up as he goes across the apron. So we'll keep an eye on him. He is bib 28.75 and very much in this race out of Missouri from Park Hill South. But it's Crane right now leading it here through the first mile. Look at those miles times.
They are fast.
They are absolutely cooking it here. 7 guys under 4:40 through the first mile, and that includes Kimmel, Chaz Obergfell, Andrew Rohde, Eli Ilg, Aiden Pengelly, and Will Baker.
And one of the guys you didn't mention, or two of them, Joe Bringenzer, who was second to Quagliaroli at State, and Alex Bruns, who I kind of like as a dark horse here, along with Henry Acorn. Those two guys may play a factor in this race. And on the team side, Paul, with 298 athletes in, well, we got Downers North and Plainfield North. They're 1-2, and Prospect Running Club 3, so it's an Illinois sweep right now on the leaderboard, which is, of course, what we expected when Downers Grove is the number 6 team ranked in the country, and Plainfield North is number 21.
So Crane goes wide to the other side and then comes back into distance. And just cleaning up the numbers here a little bit. Again, we're seeing some bib numbers there in front that we haven't seen populate our scoreboard. So we'll keep an eye on some of that. That's Jack Bidwell now, 26.08. That's moved near to the front. 28.79 is Luke Sievers of Pierpoint out of Missouri. He's back there in about third position as, again, they work their way through near the halfway point of the race course as they'll make a turn here. And for the leaders, they'll get a good chance to see where everybody else is in relation to each other as they'll come and turn themselves around.
So Landon Kimmel is tucked right in there. He's a little bit shorter than the rest, but if you can see a light blue singlet and multicolored shorts, that's Landon Kimmel, and he would be the nominal favorite here in this race. Camera 1 has a pretty good shot of him, or he did a second ago, where you could see Kimmel in that group. Crane and Kimmel certainly are legitimate factors to win this race. And now you can see the little guy. There he is with the headband. Now moving up, that's Landon Kimmel, now moving up to 4th place. He's got a headband, little multicolored shorts, little multicolored shirt, but he's right in there. Kimmel did not run, by the way, Paul, that Nike Town race where just about everybody else that's a contender did run the Nike Town race.
So Ben Crane continues to lead this group, a big separation now, it appears, from a lead group of, about 20 guys here in front with 8.5 minutes elapsed on the clock.
And I'm really surprised, Paul, that 4:39 split is really cooking, and I wouldn't expect this many guys to be able to handle the tempo of a 4:39 mile. That's a bit surprising, because what that computes to is a 14:30 5,000 meter race. And our course record is 14:21.
So 9 minutes elapsed on the clock here at Laverne Gibson in this boys championship race 2024 Nike Cross Regionals Midwest Division. Again, the top 5 individuals will be guaranteed an automatic invitation, but also some of those guys trying to get their teams invited as well, as the top 2 teams will get those automatic bids. We'll keep an eye on these leaders here. We'll get a 2-mile split coming up here momentarily. TJ Hansen,
yes, sir,
is the one without the bib on the front of his jersey, but maybe he's so confident he doesn't need a bib number because we know who he is.
Well, and when you run 12 races this year, and I think 14 last year, you got a bit of experience. His only loss was to Jack Bowen on this course in the Nike X-Town Twilight. Remember, he was 10th at NXN in those horrible conditions, 4th in this race last year. He's a 4:02.81 1,600 meter man which he did at the PR Invite. He's a 347 1500 meter man, a 154 27 800 guy.
And it's probably a good reason why you don't see him there listed on the leaders here at 2 miles without that bib. That's usually where that timing chip is placed in the bib. So without it, he is not listed, but very much in the thick of things here with Crane and Quagliaroli all running side by side.
What a leaderboard. I mean, we've got everybody that we thought. Keep your eye on Henry Acorn. This is a guy that's run a 153 800. He is in 8th place, just 8/10 behind the top 7. If there's going to be a guy that can kick out of this group, it's going to be Henry Acorn. But a great leaderboard. Noah Bontrager, who we spoke about before, has won 6 of 7. He only lost to Quagliaroli. And he was 69th in this race last year, so don't you think he wants to come back and do something?
Well, you can see it now, 6 guys in that lead group as they start to see guys fall off the pack, and reason for that is the hot pace we've seen through 2 miles. They ran the second mile in 4:54.8 with a little bit of climb included in that one after a very fast first mile. 9:33.8 for Crane at 2 miles as they began to wind it up, and now it's going to start to come down to strategy here with all of these guys pretty familiar with how this course plays out.
Bingo. And between mile 1 and 2, they really slowed it down. They're on 14:50 pace now, course record 14:21. So I think they're gearing up. They're gearing up now for the finish. And you can see Kimmel going very wide there, number 3,800. But boy, we've got a great leaderboard here. Quagliaroli now in the front. Crane, who is taking that hot early pace, in second. Kimmel and Hansen together in third and fourth. This one is going to be really interesting.
Little less than 3 minutes of running left for a Midwest Regional Championship here, and a ticket punch to Nike Cross Nationals in Portland in early December. Quagliaroli inserting a little bit of pace here, looking confident in the front. Ben Crane and TJ Hansen are both there as we wind it up with Landon Kimmel trying to stay in the mix as well. The racing now really starting to pick up the pace.
It really is. Now, Quagliaroli's track credentials not great. He's a 9:06 3,200 meter runner. The guys behind him are much faster, so it's going to be interesting. He's going to have to try to pull away a little bit. You got TJ Hansen on your shoulder, who's run 154 and 402. If you are going to win this race, you got to hustle up and try to separate. And it may be tough because you've got a lot of good competitors here.
We saw at the 2 mile mark, too, the Downers North and Rock Running were the top 2 teams going into the final stretch, but Rock Running was just 7 places and points ahead of PNXC. Nomos was in the mix as well, but we're going to wind it up here for the finish on the individual side.
Hansen had to go into the high grass in order to get his proper course run here. He's kind of all over the map, on the outside, on the inside, and the high grass. It's going to be super, super interesting to see how this plays out. And Crane, Paul, still hanging in there. And by the way, Kimmel has dropped back. Kimmel is broken. Quagliaroli gives Crane a little bit of an elbow. Hansen comes through on the inside.
As they're going to start to make this turn for home, Hansen there in second behind Quagliaroli, and Ben Crane trying to size this up as well as they come through the chute. There's the start line. They can see the finish now. It's a long stretch. Got to manage this speed well, but now Crane making a move on the outside.
Crane, the guy that led early in this race, and you thought if anybody may have spent himself, it would be him. But this is a long straightaway, and Quagliaroli looks pretty good, Paul. Look at his visage. Look at his face, Quagliaroli. I think he knows he has it. I think he's going to win this race.
And Crane sensing him on the outside, trying to get back into it, but now he looks behind. Has he given up the space? Quagliaroli now to the lead, a stride ahead as they head towards the finish line. TJ Hansen trying to hold on there in third. Still some racing to go. Can Crane respond now? And he does. Ben Crane to the lead here as Quagliaroli made his move, but the move turned out to be too early. Crane gathers himself, responds, turns on another gear, and Ben Crane is the Midwest Regional Champion.
You know what? Ben Crane is one tough runner, Paul. He had the early lead, gave it up, looked like he might have been spent, Then it looked like Quagliaroli took him, and then Crane comes back yet again.
Well, not to be outdone, but that effort by TJ Hansen to get himself over the timing apron as he fell to the ground. He is still down there, but he finishes in fifth.
Yeah.
And he had to get himself over the line officially to get that fifth position. And the top 5 individuals will get advanced to Nike Crafts Nationals. And it looks like TJ Hansen,
He did it.
by a roll of the torso, gets himself to Portland in early December. What a finish here in the final stretch as Crane takes the win in 14:46.1. Now we look to the top side of the screen, and we wait for the 5 of each of these teams to get to the line for the team race.
Big come through by Downers North. Philip Kupiel finished 7th. Grant Schroeder finished 10th. Downers North, a couple really low sticks, and that is going to help their cause significantly. Will Surratt, part of that big 3. And these are not adjusted places, of course. Will Surratt, the 3rd man in 47th, and then John Courtney 69th and their 4th man. That is an awfully good top 4 for Downers North and kind of confirms their number 6 national ranking. And by the way, Paul, in the adjusted standings, Downers North now with a 51-point bulge over Plainfield North. Plainfield North, the 2nd highest ranked team in the region. And now Downers North, that 6th ranking may have to be buttressed up a little bit. Guys at Dystat, Keenan Gray's got to come through and get those guys moved up the leaderboard.
Well, and these scores up above are dynamically changing as they remove the members of the race that were running unattached, and you can see how that changes scores very quickly, and the margin between 2nd and 3rd ever so tight. Right now, just 6 points, and again, this will not be official here till everyone's across the line, and that 2nd spot looking like it's going to be a battle down to the last runner.
And Rock Running Club really helped by Henry Acorn getting a very high 6th place finish there. That really helped their situation greatly. And then Andrew Davis, their number 2 runner, finishes in 28th. So Rock Running really made some nice. Davis knocked off 10 guys in that mile. And I always tell people, when you knock off that many people, it can dramatically affect a leaderboard.
Missouri trying to get its 2nd squad to Nike Cross Nationals, and if Rock Running can hold on to that spot, they will get that automatic, and in which case PNXC would wait to see if they can get advanced as a at-large selection. That decision will be made in a couple of weeks.
This region is so strong. I think PNXC will make it in. But I also want to point out something else, Paul, that's quite interesting. Will Surratt, the number 3 man on Downers North, he picked off 22 runners in the last mile. And that is just those 3 runners. Kupiel, I didn't expect him to finish as high as he did. 7th here. That is really impressive. I mean, he knocked off some major names. And then for Grant Schroeder to finish 10th, 2 guys in the top 10 in a region like this from a team. Boy, oh boy, Downers North, Keenan Gray, you're going to have to move that team up in your next rankings. That is a good performance, Paul.
What a great race here for a championship, fitting a championship course. This boys Midwest Championship race gives Ben Crane the victory by a little less than a second over Sam Quagliaroli of Fisher's Distance. What a wonderful, wonderful way to finish off this day of racing.
Noah Bontrager, Paul, finished 3rd. He was 2nd to Quagliaroli at State, so that State produced the number 2 and 3 runners in this race, but Bontrager was 69th in this race last year and 85th in NXN in 2022. If you keep at it, you can develop, and this kid has done a tremendous job.
Coming off that runner-up performance at the Indiana State meet as well, so brimming with confidence he came into this race. Well, they're hosting the Nike Cross Nationals on a golf course, so fitting a guy named Ben Crane is going to be racing there as the Midwest champion. For those who don't know, Ben Crane, a pretty decent golfer on the PGA Tour.
So was Ben Hogan.
And so was Ben Hogan. Though Ben Crane kind of known for his slow play, there was no slow play in the racing we saw from this Ben Crane today as he takes the victory and does so in great fashion as that long stretch to the finish was able to get him enough real estate to recalibrate the surge that he needed at the end to get the victory.